Hello and welcome back to the Irish Racing YouTube channel for another edition of the Irish Angle in association with William Hill. In case you haven't seen it yet, we recorded our Cheltenham Festival preview on Friday. It's live on the channel, plenty of good insight there from Johnny Ward, Paddy Flood and Sam Norris as well from William Hill, so make sure to tune in there. But for this week's show, unfortunately no Paddy Flood, but we've got Vincent Finegan in to sign in for him and Johnny Ward as well. Lads, how are you keeping?
Yeah, all good, Emma. Yeah, looking forward to this. I must say I really enjoyed the Cheltenham preview show you did with William Hill last Friday. So if anyone hasn't seen it yet, make sure you do look for it on the channel.
Very good. Johnny, how are you?
I am buzzing, Emma. My two primary sporting passions in life are horse racing and the League of Ireland. And I was at a League of Ireland games Friday night where three young Irish players were really to the fore, three young Dubliners, and I was just really enjoying how you can go to see professional football in this country and you can see young players coming up that might in the early stage of their development. And whilst I was in Tallaght, there were people in front of me telling me, are you watching Constitution Hill? Like people in the press area, are you watching Constitution Hill? Some guys around my age, another fellow was saying it to me who's probably 80 odd years of age, and he was buzzing to watch Constitution Hill. And Jesus Christ, if I hadn't been buzzing for Cheltenham now, whether he runs or not, we'll talk about. But it was electric. Everything about that, Emma. I'll probably just start into it now because we're going to go that way anyway. And I was talking to Pat Healy there, the eponymous photographer, and I saw that there were Healy racing photos on the irishracing.com site from Southwell, and it looked like something out of a carnival. And basically that's what Pat says. I think their photojournalist, they used a guy called Tony, and he was talking about City of Troy going over there, and he said this was like a carnival. And it got me thinking about Friday nights, the magic of racing under lights. The League of Ireland went Friday nights because they got money from the Premier League and Sky as a kind of compensation for basically, the loss of revenue because of Sky TV. And the League of Ireland has been Friday night since, and it's now really taken off as Friday nights is League of Ireland nights. And we have night racing at Dundalk, but people don't really go to it. I think it's fair to say they get small crowds. But if you can market it the way Southwell did, before we talk about the performance itself, the whole build up to the race, and we slagged the hysteria around Constitution Hill. Jesus, I was really looking forward to that race. And I think if they could do that every year, a 40 grand pot for horses going to Cheltenham, and we see in Dowie even running at Dundalk a horse prepping for a good jumps race. But the whole build up, what Southwell did in the Friday night race and Friday night lights, all of that, we slagged the authorities so much. This was such a success, and then the race happened itself.
Yeah, we'll just stay on the, I suppose, event for a second, Vincent. And they did create a real kind of spectacle, I suppose. Even the coverage and the build up, they had Oisin Murphy involved in the speed dating beforehand, and they had a countdown clock to Constitution Hill's race. Even before the meeting was even live on telly, the build up to it was, as Johnny said, we kind of maybe slagged the mainstream media a small bit for this kind of Constitution Hill kind of fever, but I thought it was brilliant as well. It kind of got everyone just excited for this one thing, and if he was going to run on the flat, they definitely made the most of it, because I thought it was just brilliant for everyone.
Look, it was fantastic, but it's all about Constitution Hill, isn't it? You can't do any of this without him. There's no point in interviewing Oisin Murphy's speed dating or anything else if it's not Constitution Hill there. They wouldn't have had the crowd, they wouldn't have had the same atmosphere. But it wasn't just at Southwell, it was everywhere within racing. I've had an amazing week with it in the run up to it, because every single person I spoke to was all about Constitution Hill. It's everything on their lips was, will he win? Can he win? Why didn't he go for a hurdle race? All the different things. What's the opposition like? There were people ringing me saying that the Ammo racing horse, they think the world of this. This is a real good horse. He's Constitution Hill, want to be at his best to beat him and everything else. And then we see the race. I still can't believe what he did, because look, there's been so many question marks over him for more than a year now with his illness and then all his falls and everything else. You just wonder, is he the same Constitution Hill that he was maybe 2 years ago? He looks to be every bit as good, maybe even better. Things like 40 miles an hour he hit going around in that race in Southwell. That's some speed for a national hunt horse. Everything about it was fabulous. I loved every minute of it, and I can't wait to see him in Cheltenham, and he's just got to go. That's my opinion on it anyway.
Yeah, Johnny, like the performance, like even if he was at his very best, I don't think I would have expected that, to be honest. Maybe it's kind of a little bit of snobbery in a way that we don't expect national hunt horses to be able to perform to this level on the flat, but like it was just electric, and like they're dreaming of big targets now, Melbourne Cups and things like that. And in fairness, like I think he got a time form rating 106p. They're very justified to do that, given that's his first start on the flat. Like he blew my mind, to be honest.
100%, and I have to give Patrick Mullins a big shout out here because I didn't see this till after the race, but I think he was given a comment on Willie's horse in the race, Daddy Longlegs, and he basically said Constitution Hill is going to be a different league to these horses, right? And I think he followed up by saying these 2 mile hurdlers are very good mile and a half horses, but that's not necessarily the case. Like our Conor was a fairly run of the mill handicapper on the flat. He was going to be a top class hurdler, I think. I have to say now, before the race, I didn't fancy him at all at the prices, because notwithstanding the fact that he'd had all of these falls in over the last sort of 4 runs over hurdles. Like, this is a horse who would have won a point to point by Blue Brazil. Like, he's an absolute national hunt bred horse. So to be going on taking on Square Necker, I would have Square Necker as 100% a stakes horse on the flat. I was at Dundalk when he bolted up the day before. I thought it was a very good performance. Now, I wasn't sure what the change of yard was about there, so maybe there was a slight question mark on him, and he was slightly weak in the betting. Then you had the other horses in the race, say Gambino, who was third. He's rated 83. That's a very solid flat kind of yardstick. Daddy Longlegs, in fairness, was weak in the betting and ran terrible, so take him out of it. So, but you wouldn't get to, like, I look back at Archibald. When Archibald won at Dundalk in his prep under Declan McDonough, he put in a good performance. He was ridden out and he won well. Constitution Hill I'd say he ran to somewhere in the region of 105 here. This is a horse with no flat experience at this stage of his life, with the background that he's had. He wasn't trained to be a flat horse. He was trained to be a hurdler. So this horse is a genuine absolute freak to put in that effort. So just on that, and maybe now we can get talking about Cheltenham.
Yeah, and like this is the conundrum. And to be honest, I really pity Nicky Henderson here. Like it's a very difficult decision to make, whatever way you want to look at it. Look, people have their opinions, but he's going to get slack whichever way he decides to go. Vincent, do you think he has to go?
I do. Look, he's probably at his peak the best hurdler I've seen in my life. And to think that he's going to be fit and well in 2 weeks' time and not turn up in Cheltenham would be a travesty. He's got to go. He's got to redeem himself for what's happened before. For his jockey as well, Nico de Boinville. Like, he must really want him to go. To be able to say, look, I rode him again. We did it right this time. They've done the Yogi Bresner stuff and all the rest of it. Surely to God, he only has to jump 8 hurdles or whatever it is. He doesn't even have to necessarily jump them in contention and be up there. Just drop him out the back, get him over the 8 hurdles, and then let him sprint home at his 40 miles an hour. I can't wait to see it. I think he has to run. I'd be really disappointed if he doesn't. If he just goes off on the flat now, it's literally a bubble burst, isn't it? It's a flat end to his jumping career, because he'll never go back over hurdles again.
Yeah, I think you made a very good point there. The fact that he's fit and well, because Johnny, this is obviously a horse who has had a magnitude of problems throughout his career. We've only seen him, we haven't seen him a whole pile. So like when he's fit and well, he's obviously absolutely brilliant. But he's not fit and well too often. Like we don't get to see this horse too often. So that has to be kind of in their minds a small bit as well, making this decision.
Like the fact that this is even a debate goes to show, like, I mean, imagine if this horse were trained in Ireland, with respect, like this would not even be a debate. I've spoken to people about the likelihood of Constitution Hill getting around in the champion hurdle, right? So I've spoken to good people in the industry who'd be good at pricing it up. Generally, a horse in a hurdle race is 1 to 33 to get around, right? So roughly roughly a 3% fall on seat rate. Constitution Hill, because of his background, is a bit higher than that. It's fair to say, right? Because he has had 3 falls in his last 4 hurdle race, and I have to give a mention to Declan Maher here from Learn Bet Win, because I was asking him about it, and he said, funnily enough, he did the last 10 years of Grade 1 racing in over hurdles, right? And basically, if you're a 4-to-1 shot or less in these top hurdle races, you actually have a higher chance of falling than you would as an average horse. So it gets closer to 6%, right? And with Constitution Hill, there is a chance, without a doubt, and given the fact that his falls have been of a similar making, I'm not a jockey, but I definitely think there's a slight issue between him and Nico de Boinville at this stage. Even so, realistically, the chance of him falling is if from the lads I would ask is somewhere in the region of 8-1, maybe 8-10-1 that he falls in the race. This horse is one of the best looked after creatures in the world, basically, right? So if we're going on about like welfare and all of this, we want to talk about the meat industry, and we want to talk about stuff like that. We don't want to talk about thoroughbred racehorses who have the time of their lives and are the best looked after animals in the world. And this, like, I mean, it's obviously a rumor, and if it were true, like that there was some pressure from the authorities on Nicky Henderson not to run the champion hurdle, these people should never be ever running racing in any shape or form ever again. And I'd like Nicky to talk about that, because I mean, you wouldn't get in the gate in Ireland if you even suggested that. Can you imagine the buzz? And I'm thinking of this now, of Constitution Hill jumping the last under Nico de Boinville, about to win the champion hurdle, and all of the doubts we've had about racing, the doubts we've had about where Cheltenham is going, the doubts we've had about life itself over the last few years, and all the horrors in the world. Can you imagine what that would be? And like, FUCK the begrudgers.
100%. I think he'd bring the house down in Cheltenham, and like you said, like there's kind of rumblings maybe that people are suggesting that the authorities might be in Henderson's ear small, but I think that, like, if it's true, it might not be true. I think it's absolute rubbish if it is. I think if you can't trust a trainer like Nicky Henderson to make this decision, like, if anything, like, people probably criticise Nicky Henderson for being too cautious with his horses. So if he decides to run Constitution Hill, you can be fairly sure that the schooling has been ironed out, that any problems they think he has have been solved. And like, a trainer of his experience should be making that call, and there shouldn't be any pressures on him from anyone outside. Look, it's a very hard decision to make for him, because he always kind of has everyone's opinions, I suppose, going around on social media and in the media outlets as well. But we'd hopefully know by Wednesday or Thursday. But just looking beyond the champion hurdle for a minute, Vincent, Melbourne Cup has been touted as a bit of a target for him. We could maybe see him at the Ebor, the Irish Ledger, maybe on the way to that. Like, let's just say if we saw him showing up for an Irish Ledger in the Curragh, like, what could the horse like of this profile do for Irish flat racing, which badly needs a rejuvenation, like in terms of crowds?
Not just for Irish flat racing, for horse racing in general, it'll be a fabulous story. If he goes and wins this champion hurdle, he's beyond superstar at that stage. And then we've got the flat campaign to come. It is going to be, what a year it'll be. And if it does end up in a Melbourne Cup, now I can't personally see that myself. I think there's too many literally hurdles for him to jump to get to a Melbourne Cup in all sorts of ways. But flat campaign, fantastic. And where could he end up? He could be anywhere. He could be Breeders' Cup. He could be whatever. Like, you look at Ethical Diamond, 2 stone, less a hurdle horse than he was, goes and wins a Breeders' Cup turf for Willie Mullins last year. There's no doubt this horse has to be competitive at the highest level on the flat. No question about it in my mind. Now, where that is, what race that is, I don't know, but I think there's going to be a fabulous year watching him if he does come back in the autumn for something. Because like you'd imagine, we'll see him 2 or 3 times in the flat, more than we would necessarily over hurdles as well. I think it's fascinating and really exciting.
This is as well.
Yeah, definitely.
This is for Michael Buckley and Nicky Henderson. This is a really, really privileged position for them to be in. Nicky is like, he's very bad sight at this stage. He's 75 years of age, and to be fair, he's coming towards the end of his career as a trainer at some point, and like, he has this opportunity. Michael Buckley is no spring chicken at this stage as well. They have a responsibility for racing here, like, and they can't have this idea of, oh, what if this happened? What if that happened? Like, this is a racehorse. And what would Nicky Henderson's dad tell him? Like, honestly, what would the good national hunt men and women of yesteryear say? Are you having a laugh here? Vinny is like a good few years older than me, and if he's saying he's the best hurdler he's seen, like, I don't even need to get in on this argument. So like, seriously, like, let's get real. And also, lads, is he not a bet now? He's 4-1, we'll say, on the exchanges. Like, he's 100% an odds-on shot if he turns up. So what price do you to turn up?
Yeah, I mean, like, if you're backing him, I'm not sure what price he is. No bet. But like, I mean, it's pretty much like
7-4-ish. I think he is. Yeah,
like 7-4, no bet. Like you said, Johnny, like, I'd say he's odds on if he shows up for a champion hurdle. Is he not?
absolute lump. Sorry, I should have done my prep for that 7-4 non-1 no bet. Jesus Christ, it's not even a vintage champion hurdle. He say basically it's whatever price get round. But the Nico de Bonville, like we can talk about racehorses. Constitution Hill, according to Barry Geraghty, like he's like a pet lamb. He used to have his kids on him. He was just the most lovely horse. But we can relate obviously to a human more, or I can anyway. Although some people probably get on better with horses than humans. But as on a human element, the Nico de Boinville factor is so compelling. Like we're trying to big up the sport here. We're trying to sell racing to the public. Like if you meet somebody on the train and you're on the way to Cheltenham and you're trying to explain the Nico de Boinville story, like there's so much drama to it, so much tension. Like Nico has a point to prove here, and he can say after the race, like FUCK, the begrudgers like me and Paddy Flood who said like that he doesn't get on well with them, and say it was just a bit of bad luck. And like, have you ever ridden a horse? Because I haven't. So like, just bring it on.
Yeah, hopefully we'll get to see Nico telling the begrudgers that after the champion hurdle. Look, like we'll move on. Look, we've spoken about it plenty, and we'll know this time next week. We'll know Wednesday or Thursday. I think Nicky's making the decision, so I think we're all hoping for him to show up there. I think he'd bring the house down in Cheltenham if he showed up, and yeah, just really exciting. Looking forward to it. We'll move on. Sean Bowen, another big one during the week. 200 winners this season, Vincent. He's 100 clear, I think, of his next rival, Harry Skelton. He's having an amazing year. I think McCoy's record, 289. He might find it hard to break it this year, but he's definitely on the road to break some serious records.
Yeah, he's an incredible young man, Emma. Can't believe what he's doing. Like, what's amazing is he hasn't ridden a Cheltenham winner yet, which seems astonishing considering how well he's been doing in the UK. He's ridden over 1,000 winners and everything else. And the other thing that really gets me is he's not riding steering jobs like the likes of Ruby would have been back in his day, or for that matter, Tony McCoy riding all these hot pots that 6 and 7 to 1 on chances. He's only ridden, looking at his most recent winners, last 15 winners, only 2 odds on shots amongst them. He's riding for multiple yards across the UK, including Irish yards when they send runners over. He's had winners for Tom Cooper, winners for Tony Martin, and multiple winners for Gordon Elliott. What I thought is really extraordinary when you go into his stats is he's ridden 25% winners this season. But when you look at the stables he's riding for, when he rides for them, his percentage with them is way above what they're normally doing. Like Ollie Murphy, who he mainly rides for, 21% strike rate this season, 25% when Sean Bowen rides them. You have James Owen, 24%, 37% when Sean Bowen's on them. Even Gordon Elliott with his runners in the UK, 25% strike rate, 46% when Sean Bowen rides them. And it's the same with every yard, all the way down through them. Nick Schofield, another one, 18% strike rate, 66% when Sean Bowen sits on them. So he really is. He's a special talent, and I really look forward to seeing him getting some really good rides in Cheltenham this year.
Yeah, he should maybe pick up a few for Gordon. Gordon has kind of always supported his career since he's been a young rider, I suppose. And I suppose what he's doing, Johnny, is even more impressive. Just the fact, they brought in that rule that jockeys can only ride, at one meeting a day now. Like back in the day when McCoy was riding like 200 plus winners, he was able to go to a couple of meetings a day. But he's restricted in that regard. But like his work ethic seems to be just above and beyond, I suppose.
Yeah, we've some, between him and the likes of Harry Cobden, some very good British riders at the moment. Like I would be watching Sean Bowen day to day, and I actually backed a horse he rode for Ollie Murphy at Huntington last week, and the horse finished second, but I thought he'd give it a phenomenal ride, really strong, and that Cheltenham statistic is just like absolutely bonkers. Like it's interesting now if you were to. The preview night circuit is starting him. I think you were at one as well on Friday night. To ask people like, how would you rate Sean Bowen and Harry Cobden relative to the best of the Irish riders? So at the moment, Jack Kennedy, I suppose you could say Darragh O'Keefe, Mark Walsh, and obviously Paul Townend, and one or two others as well. So where would they all rate against each other? The likes of JJ Slevin. Really interesting because they don't necessarily compete that much against each other, but Sean is a model of a jockey.
Yeah, he's unreal. I'd say he's up there with the best of the Irish, and yeah, he's just one of the best out there. I'd say any stable will be happy to use him on any horse, any time. But just staying on the topic of jockeys for a second, Harry Skelton won the Paddy Power Jockey Challenge last year with 500,000 prize money, and some news came out yesterday. He's going to use some of that money at least to go towards a new scholarship for pony racing graduates, helping them kind of bridge the gap between pony racing and race riding, I suppose. And Vincent, look, it's a very good initiative, and it was nice of Harry, I suppose, to use the prize money from the Jockey Cup to do it.
This is fantastic, isn't it? What a good news story for the sport as well. Like, someone wins a huge prize like 500,000, and then he starts putting it back into the grassroots, and he's going to have two lads and two lasses from the pony racing circuit going to spend time in the Skelton yard. He's going to tutor them in all elements of it, and he's even going to go to pony racing with them and everything. It just sounds fantastic. Nearly too good to be true, I would have thought. You don't normally expect to see that within the sport, but I suppose with William Hill sponsoring this podcast as well, you look at the initiative they've done this year in Ireland with that William Hill Each Way extra challenge series for the lower end of the training ranks and the stable staff and the jockeys at that level as well. It's fantastic to see, and these are people and organisations outside of the authorities running the sport taking on these initiatives themselves and doing something really, really positive. You'd like to think that your BHA and Horse Racing Ireland would have done those things themselves, but it's great to see that there's others picking up the mantle and being able to go and do this. And a full credit to Harry Skelton. I think this is fabulous, to be honest.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I was in Mallow, your local track, lately, and a lady came up to me and she said, fair play to you for giving pony racing a bit of a leg up. And I sort of said to her, God, I didn't think I'd give pony racing a leg up. But her point was that the pony circuit in Ireland, they feel so underappreciated by the authorities. They really do, between issues with HRI and issues with insurance and stuff like that, that those who look after pony racing in this country really feel that it's just kind of being almost left behind. I found that interesting because I've no pony racing background whatsoever. I've never even been to a pony race meeting. I want to go to Dingle one of the years, but I've no real view on it at all. It was just interesting that she thought that it just didn't get any sort of real help from, I suppose, from the people who did matter in racing. And I find this very interesting. Like, you look at it, this came from the David Power Fund, and now Harry came on the money, and it's kind of like, I think in life, if you have a bit of luck, like, you should pass it on, and that's very much what this is, and it's a brilliant initiative.
Yeah, 100%. He's going to take on, as Vincent said, 4 jockeys. I think 2 girls and two young lads. And he's going to mentor them hands on. I think, as well, just not just being a jockey, it's media support, kind of behind the scenes stuff as well. I think he's going to bring them to the Skelton yard and kind of give them hands on training. So look, it's brilliant. And you mentioned the Irish racing pony scene. Johnny, yeah, it's. I think in Britain that most of the races are run on the racetrack now. I'm not 100% sure. It might be running point to points and stuff as well, but it seems to be more kind of in conjunction with the authorities over there. Whereas here, even though like it seems to be like the biggest source of top class riders, nearly all of the top riders in Ireland, if not all of them, have come through the pony racing circuit. But still, it seems to be totally separate to racing on the track here. There doesn't seem to be much of a link between them. Maybe some funding goes towards it. I'm not 100% sure the total structure of it, but yeah, it's unusual, I suppose, Vincent, that maybe the authorities here don't support pony racing a bit more than they have been.
Yeah, I think they do, but it's very light touch. They really don't want to get too involved in it. I say, look, there's a lot of skullduggery goes on in the pony racing circuit here. Like, there's you have stories of race horses coming out of training yards back in the day, anyway, maybe not nowadays, but years ago. They'd come out of a training yard running 2 or 3 pony races on the one weekend, and then back in the training yard, and they're back in horse racing the next week and all this sort of stuff. Like, you even see with the colours the horses wear, they're wearing all the top owners' colours, like JP McManus and Gigginstown and everything else in them, and they've got names, the names they give the horses and everything. Look, it's a little bit dodgy, I suppose, to some level, but at the same time, what a fantastic schooling ground it is, or appears to be, for young lads coming up in race riding, because they can't ride on the track till they're 16, yet they're at this from 11 and 12 years of age. Look at Dylan Brown, McMonagall, all of them. There's so many of them have come through it. It really is amazing to see, and it just keeps producing them. So maybe the sport should do more, but I'd say you'd need to clean up the pony racing a little bit before you could really do a whole lot more.
Yeah, maybe so. But look, as you said, there's no doubt in the jockeys. Like you said, they can't ride in the track till they're 16, but they could have 500 pony racing winners ridden by then. Like, it's incredible experience to have at such a young age, and you're seeing them then coming onto the track with a 10-pound claim, and you're saying, these are as good as many of the apprentices might be already. But we'll move on, just kind of on the topic of young talents, I suppose. Conor Houlihan, Johnny, had a brilliant week this week. 2 bumper winners in 6 days. He only took out his licence in November. To train 2 bumper winners in a week is a fair achievement for any trainer, but for a young lad starting out, it fairly gets your name in the headlines.
Jeez, 100%, Emma. Like, and it's I know I've said this before. It's very, very difficult to get involved in training horses now with just with the prices. With, you know, trainers always tell you that they're not making money, and like, fair, this is incredible stuff. Like, do you remember the likes of Michael O'Hare coming on the scene with the treble at Naas, Barney's son, years ago? And you get, sometimes you get these people with this amazing achievement, like 2 winners in a row in bumpers. You know, neither of them favourite in the space of like 5 days. Mad impressive stuff, and I love seeing this. Like, I love seeing the stories like Dan McLaughlin coming up, Keane Collins, Ian Donoghue in recent years, like young trainers doing well, Flatter National Hunt, and fair play to Conor, brilliant stuff.
Yeah, I thought his interview afterwards was good. Like, it sounds like he was putting a fair bit of expectation on himself. Like, even though he'd only sent out, I think he had 6 runners before he had a winner, but like, he said he was under pressure to get a winner even at that stage. Like, considering he only had the license in November, like, there's plenty of trainers who go an awful lot longer without getting a winner. So look, he obviously sets high bars for himself. I think they sold the first winner, Nan's Choice, at the sale in Cheltenham a couple of days ago. Dan Skelton bought that one, but I think Kilty Boo's going to stay in the yard anyway for now. So definitely a trainer to watch out for. I think based down Dungarvan, but a young man with plenty of ambition, I suppose. But Vincent, we had the Grand National weights out this week as well. Due over in Liverpool for that. I Am Maximus tops the weights again there. Anything in there catch your eye?
Yeah, well, the big thing that caught my eye is the quality of horse that's at the top of the handicap. Like, the top dozen or so are really Gold Cup contenders at some level, aren't they? You go back 15, 20 years ago, and it wasn't that sort of race at all. Now, I know they've made huge changes. The safety limit has gone from 40 down to 34. They've made a million changes to defences and everything else in the race. But the quality of horses, though, one thing you have to say, it's fantastic to see that level of horse in it. Going through the weights, I did nothing stuck out to me as saying, oh my God, that has got stones in hand or anything else. But the one thing I did think is the top weight has to be thereabouts again, doesn't he? I Am Maximus. He's run a couple of crackers already this season. He won the race in 2024. He's second to his stable companion Nick Rocket in it last year, beating 2.5 lengths. I think he's 3 or 4 pounds better off, or maybe 5 pounds better off with that horse this time round. So he has to be thereabouts. That'd be my one thought in it. But the quality of horse in particular is amazing, the Grand National nowadays.
Yeah, I suppose it's kind of turning into a race where you can kind of run those real kind of top chasers without, it's kind of a race that doesn't really take as much out of a horse, maybe, I suppose, as it used to. It's not probably not as much of a test as it used to be. But like you said, I Am Maximus there 10-1 anti-post with William Hill. JP has a really strong team. Johnny, I Am Maximus, Oscar's brother, Spillane Tower in there as well. The Green and Gold have a good chance again.
Iroko.
And Iroko, yeah. Like, Iroko, funny enough, is top price 7-1, even though he's £5 higher for finishing fourth when favourite in the race last year. I suppose he's timing his side as an 8-year-old, but like, yeah, like Vinny makes a fair point there. Like, Oscar's brother in as well for JP. Vinny makes a fair point about the quality of the race. Like, it's a funny one that, to be honest, I don't really look at the Grand National till closer to the off these days, and I should say it was probably never a race that, even in the old Grand National, like I still wasn't quite as in love with it as other people. So when I knock it these days, maybe you should take that as it was just not a race. I don't think I've ever actually backed the winner in it as well, so maybe I'm being a bit kind of selfish about it. But like, in fairness, I mean, look at 11 horses rated 160 and above. Like, it's incredible stuff. It's a glorified hurdle race now. I've made this point before. Like, it's not like this race in Fairyhouse would be quite different, obviously, in conventional fences, and a lot of these horses wouldn't run. But yeah, JP is targeting it, and JP is well advised these days and what to target these races with, and there's a fair chance I think he'll win it all right. But it's kind of not a race to be looking to until closer to the day.
Yeah, probably a bit early yet. We'll have a quick look back on some of the racing from the past week. We had Naas yesterday. Maybe a few pointers towards the festival there, Johnny. Low Kick won the bumper. He was behind your champion bumper fancy, I think, Irish Avatar last time. Arthur Moore had a nice winner of the opener. Mojulik, another Triumph hurdle horse, maybe. Emmett Mullins, one for the per temps, and there was plenty in Naas yesterday.
Yeah, it was a nice card in Naas. The ground seemed to hold up pretty well. Melbourne Shamrock. I did a treble yesterday going into Shamrock Rovers to win the league. I'm bringing up the League of Ireland a lot lately, but I was at the match the other night and I was just thinking they can't be beaten. So I did a treble, and I'm not getting the trumpet out here because these things invariably get beaten, but I did Star of the Week into Melbourne Shamrock, into Shamrock Rovers. So I have a nice sweat now for the rest of the year with Shamrock Rovers. But I couldn't believe the price Melbourne Shamrock was in the end, because like, it's just the horses he was running against compared to his run at Navan the day before, and whether or not he's good enough to win at Cheltenham, I don't know. But Emma Mullins is so good; he probably left him a bit short yesterday with the view to Cheltenham, and he's going to get into the Thames final. I think he was in the Albert Barta as well. I liked his performance. Good ride from Dun Myler. I spoke to Eddie O'Leary before Low Kick ran behind Irish Avatar at Navan. I'm pretty certain now. I'm putting words in his mouth. I'm pretty certain he said he did have a messy. It's a slight setback before Navan, so he wasn't going to be at his best that day. So maybe I wouldn't read massively into the Navan form boost, but at the same time, it's a lovely effort. Sent off 3-1. I was surprised at as well. But I just want to mention, Emma, the comments from Arthur Moore after the first race, because Star of the Week's a horse I've followed. I tipped him the last day in Down Royal. I actually did back him yesterday. But I've said this to a million people. I think IrishRacing.com I think you should have to pay for it, because people are paid to go racing, to give you quotes like this and to have a quote after every race and everything else and I'm not saying this because I work on this podcast, but I think it's fantastic that you see every day at the races there's someone there working for PA, putting stuff on for IrishRacing.com. And Arthur Moore's comments after Star of the Week won: he's a gorgeous horse, he's a model. Kevin and Anna Ross bought him as a yearling. They couldn't sell him in Doncaster as a 3-year-old. Harold Kirk said he'd come back and buy him after one of his point to point, but he came into us broken, and my son JD took a fancy to him. He's a good pal, Jonathan Duffy, and he recommended to buy him. The whole family have contributed. He'll have one more run. He'll go chase next year. You can see the way he jumps. He's a joy to train, never turns a hair. Ricky said he was a bit asleep in front today. In our last 9 runners, I think we've had 5 seconds, 3/3 and a fourth. We'll see if there's something over East for him at Easter or Cork. 2 miles is fine for him. And then he says, I'd like to start at 2, ideally at Navan, where we started Clairon Davis, Native Upmanship, and Soft Day and a few others. It's a lovely track. And he said, Ricky's a very underrated rider. He got his fractions right. I'm lucky to have him riding for us. I got an awful kick out of this horse, and I know I had money on him, but like Arthur Moore, to have a horse like this that he obviously rates that highly, it's just brilliant. And to see him invoking the stars of yesteryear, and he called Clairon Davis was Clairon in the piece. And I'm not blowing smoke up Vinny's backside here, but just to have these quotes after race is brilliant. I wasn't racing yesterday, and to see what that means to Arthur Moore, and to have Ricky Doyle, who's obviously, a famous record in the good staying handicap chases, like to see him riding a good horse like this. I think this horse is going to go a long way. The likes of Mansoni, even another similar type of horse, maybe to of quality that they could have over fences. But I loved his performance.
Yeah, I thought he was eye-catching. So we had the racing in Fairyhouse as well Saturday. Vincent, the Bobby Show Chase, Grange Clare West won that. What caught your eye over the weekend? Anything nice, Fairyhouse, elsewhere?
Not particularly, no, to be honest with you. The thing that really got me was Constitution Hill. That was the whole weekend for me, horse racing wise. But the other thing, just looking back there on one of the horses I was going to give as one to follow is Indawi, that Johnny mentioned already, ran in Dundalk. I thought that was a superb performance. With what's coming up in a couple of weeks' time, he was second in the county hurdle last year to Cargazy, and running over a mile. This is a horse who finished 6th in the Newmarket Cesarewitch over 2 miles, and then he's running over a mile in a pretty hot little handicap in Dundalk and flew home, beating less than a length. That was the one that I really took out of the week, to be honest with you.
Very good. We'll go to horses to follow. So, Johnny, what was yours?
Yeah, I was nearly going to give Indawi, because and as Vinny says there, like it was a hell of an effort. This is a horse who stays nearly 2 miles. It kind of got me thinking about, and I know Adam Potts, who I often mention on the show, like he thinks we get too fixated with distances, where horses can be quite versatile regarding tripping. That was a hell of a run considering the distance and the price he was as well. So we'll see where he goes at Cheltenham. But I'm going to give Star of the Week. Maybe it wasn't an awfully strong maiden hurdle, and I always think 4-year-olds this time of year, even getting weight, like I think they're well up against it in a race like this. But Lynch does not look a decent horse, and I like the way this fella did it. He just looks a really lovely chasing prospect. And at this stage of his life, I'm not telling Nicky Henderson and Arthur Moore that they're getting on, but like Arthur wouldn't have that many horses at this stage, and to have a horse that he can look forward to in the good novice chases next year and Star of the Week is magic for me.
Very good. I'm going to go outside of the racetrack. I think I was actually at the point-to-point in at the point in Kildare yesterday. And I thought the two first winners there were very impressive. There was 2 mares maiden, a 4-year-old mares maiden and a 5 and 6-year-old mares maiden. The 4-year-old was very good. She was trained by Jim O'Neill and Barry O'Neill's brother. She was walking the park. Foxy in the Park was her name. She was very, very professional. Definitely want to keep an eye on. But I thought maybe the winner of the second race might be interesting to watch out for as well. Derby Hill, a Yates filly ridden by Dara Allen and trained by Porrick Butler. So she was very, very good, I thought. She kind of made the running and just galloped them into the ground. But the comments after the race were interesting. If she's not sold, she might go for a bumper. And she's probably just one, like if she did pop up in a bumper, she could be a big price just to keep an eye out on. Derby Hill, if you see her entered in a bumper there coming up soon in Ireland,
We've
definitely
some good,
keep an eye on her because she looks like a legend.
Some good names in Cheltenham this year, Emma, like No Drama This End. I like him as a name. And but Foxy in the Park, like if we get Foxy in the Park to be a Cheltenham contender, I think people would be all over it.
100%, yeah. It was well named for sure. It actually looks like a nice mare as well. But I couldn't get over the crowd in Kildare yesterday. Like we're kind of talking about crowds going up at the race meetings and stuff like that. But there was some crowd at the point of points yesterday, kind of just enjoying the race, and it was great to see it. Probably not as many as was in Suddle to watch Constitution Hill, but it was a good turnout nonetheless. Lads, we'll wrap it up there. Thanks very much to Vincent and Johnny for all of your contributions, and thanks everyone for tuning into the show. If you like the content, make sure to like and subscribe because there's loads coming up on the run up to Cheltenham.